I'm Nathan Simmons, and I'm with the Mormon Tabernacle Choir making their annual Obscene podcast.
And my name's Dustin Goes to Hollywood. And did you know there's a certain species of podcaster that can screw for 3 days without stopping?
Hell yeah, brother.
It's not us, but there is a species that could do that.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the Holly Jolly Lightings playlist, a podcast that tries to find the silver lining in the holidays. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's true. Ho, ho, fuck.
For some, this is a bummer time of year, and we're here to find the silver lining in it.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to find it in none other than 1974's Black Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
Nathan, your pick for our Christmas episode this season.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Yeah. Why Black Christmas, the original in particular?
So, Black Christmas was...
I gave you my heart.
The very next day, you...
were stabbed to death?
There was a sudden slay. I don't know.
There you go.
I got no puns. I got no puns. Black Christmas, a formative slasher, a movie that I saw kind of later in my life, getting into horror movies. So it was sort of like, you know, it's sort of like watching the DNA of everything that I like being created in real time.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a movie that my fiance and I, my future wife, and I watch every year together. Mm-hmm. And you know what? This is a perfect segue because I want to bring her on now. Our special guest, Ashley.
Hi.
How you doing?
Hi. Yeah, I love this movie.
JT's looking for the cheers button. I just let you guys know. A little peek behind the curtain. I can see you looking for
I was actually looking for an aw.
Oh, yeah.
It was on here.
Yeah, we don't have that.
Okay.
We don't have all.
Well, then.
Yeah. Thanks.
And I should say JT, our Santa's little helper, helping out with the
Absolutely.
soundboard. He's here this week.
And if you want to talk about movies that have a like pit in your stomach ending, I mean, this movie, the ending of this film just is sort of 5 straight minutes of oh my god. Like the first time I saw this, I just remember thinking like, well, that is as hopeless as you get in a slasher movie ending. And weirdly enough, it is my good lady wife's like comfort movie.
It really
one of her
is.
like go-to comfort movies.
It's so cozy.
Hey man, my first note of this episode is this film is cozy.
It's so cozy. Yeah, and I kept saying over and over again, like every time we watch it, that the sorority house reminds me of my grandparents' house in Kentucky.
Yeah.
They had like a 1970s like dark wood panel, shag carpet, like the floral wallpaper, the whole thing.
Hell
and so
yeah.
it's like super cozy for me.
Yeah.
Between all of that, all of the big coats, and then the like rosy lighting, this movie just feels like a warm bath, but also it's terrifying.
Yeah.
It's so scary.
Yeah, I fully agree. We've all seen this before, right? No,
Oh, yeah.
This is no one's first venture into this thing. Okay. Yeah, I want to say before we get too far into this episode, because this is our Christmas episode this season, we teased my story that I was going to tell on last week's episode.
That's right. Yes.
And we never got around to it. So it's actually more apt that we're talking about it this week because it is a Christmas related story. So I want to go ahead and get it out of the way. This is crazy. I should go ahead and tell you ahead of time. This was nuts.
So crazier than Ashley and I
Going into
not having bathrooms that were advertised.
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe. We'll see. It's crazier in a different way. So I took my kids to a Christmas parade last weekend.
Oh, gosh.
And it was, my wife, Priscilla, and our two
His
kids.
wife.
My wife. And
His kids.
We're at it. His kids now to the bits.
Their kids.
So we're in St. Pete, right? So we're on the water is where the parade is. It's right there on the marina, and there's a dockside bar that's right there where we're at. So we're there. We got our chairs set up and everything. And before the parade starts, Priscilla goes, "Hey, do you want to go over to the restaurant right here, this bar, and get us a drink? You know, we can have a little beer or something while we watch the parade." I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So I go over there. I go inside, and it's busy, but it's not crazy.
Okay.
The problem is there's only 2 bartenders behind the bar, and there's a bunch of people. And I don't know how you guys deal with bars, but I usually just go until I find an open spot, and then I wait to be called on. Like I'm like,
I do as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can't I can't do that because there's about 4 women in front of me, and they're all in a group. And then the bartender is finishing up making another person's drink. She goes to the 4 ladies. For some reason, 3 of the ladies just leave this one girl by herself.
Oh.
And I'm waiting behind her, and I've been waiting already about 5 to 10 minutes just to order. And the girl in front of me, I hear her say to the bartender, "Are you ready for this?"
Oh no!
And she's got a piece of paper in her hand, and I texted you, Nathan. I said, "I think I'm going to become the Joker right now." That's right. At this bar. And so I'm like, "Oh God, okay." And so she's ordering, margaritas, martinis, shots. She's ordering the works, and I'm like, "Oh God." Unbeknownst to me, a large gentleman, I mean tall and big and burly, comes next to me with his wife and goes, have you been waiting long? And I go, his wife, that guy's wife. And I said, I don't know if they had kids or not, but I said I've been waiting long enough to consider leaving, because at this point it'd been like 15 minutes. He goes, "Oh really?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "I'm just gonna sit here and wait though, because I got nothing else to do. The parade hasn't started yet."
Sure.
And so finally, the girl in front of me gets all her drinks and she leaves, and I take my step up next to the bar, right? Now the bartender goes to help someone else because they were first. That's fine. I'm sitting there waiting. I'm just getting a beer. That's all I'm getting.
Right.
And so she finally comes back, and as she's about to ask me what I want, the other girl that she made drinks for came back and said, "You forgot one of my drinks." And she goes, "Oh, okay. Well, let me make it for you real quick." I was like, "That's fine. That's whatever." Again, unbeknownst to me, this guy moves in silence. The guy had moved up next to me at the bar. And this is where I want to make a point right here, because the story is about to turn. I don't say anything for the next 3 to 5 minutes.
Sure. I
don't say a word. I just sit there. Okay. So this guy comes up next to me at the bar, and he points at me and says, "Hey, actually, he was next to order."
Oh,
right?
No.
Just wait. Again, I want to make it clear. I didn't say a fucking word.
No.
So he goes, "He was next to order." And the bartender goes, "Oh, I know." I goes, "But I forgot to make one of her drinks. I'm just going to make it real quick for her. It's all right." And the guy goes, "Well, that's bullshit." Again, I just sit there and I already could tell.
You're not a part of this.
I step
until
away.
He made you.
I step away.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I could already tell where this is going.
Yeah.
And she goes, "Sir, I need you to calm down. It's okay. I'm going to get to him in just a minute." The next thing out of this dude's mouth is, "Fuck all that sir shit." And I'm like, oh my God.
Oh no.
I don't know. And then he goes, I forgot what he says next, but she goes, "Sir, if you're going to get loud and angry, you're going to have to step away." And then he calls her, let's say a not so nice thing to call a woman.
Oh no.
She starts screaming back at him, "Get the fuck out of my restaurant. I'm not serving you." At this point, the other bartender hears what's going on. He comes over and goes, "What's going on?" And he goes, "She's being so fucking rude to me." And I'm sitting there with my head in my hands at this point, because I just want a beer. That's all I want is beer.
You just want your beer.
I just want it. And it's not even for me. It's not even for me. I wasn't even going to drink it.
Right.
I was getting it from my lovely wife, who I love very much.
That's right.
The guy's like, "Well, it doesn't matter at this point. We're not serving you." And he's like, the guy is starting to, his poor wife. She's tugging on him like, "Babe, calm down. It's okay." And they're like leaving. He's going, "Fuck you, fuck all of you." And again, I haven't said a word. I'm just standing there. And then
crazy.
He gets into it with some guy as he's leaving. And he's like, "What the fuck are you looking at?" He's like, "I'm looking at you getting in my fucking way of ordering a drink."
Oh my God.
This is a Christmas parade crowd.
Right.
And then I finally she's like, "What do you have?" I said, "I just want a beer." She gives me the beer and I leave, and I go in. We get to enjoy the parade, but as we're walking, the capper to the story, as we're walking to the end of the parade, because at the end they're going to do the tree lighting, and we're moving over to where the tree lighting happens.
Yeah.
As we're moving there, they light up the tree, so we don't even get to be there when they do the countdown. So I'm like, this is a good metaphor for how the holidays feel nowadays.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
do you see what you started, Dustin?
I know. Silly of me for wanting a beer.
I feel like the only time this year that and it's so weird when it's like a family event, right?
Yeah.
Like the only time this year that I can think of that a stranger cussed at me was when Ashley and I went to go see Wicked. Like, this woman just yelled at me in front of her kids.
Was someone from Boston saying this is Wicked, another word I'm not allowed to say?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Wicked awesome.
So yeah, that's my Christmas parade story. I hope it was worth the wait.
It was, and in fact, like, made me feel much like this movie does, which is just like, why is no one listening to each other?
This guy was turning into Billy and right in front of me.
He was.
So, Black Christmas, 1974. Of course, there's been 2 remakes.
That's right.
And I still have not seen. But I'm glad we're finally talking about this one because it feels weird that we haven't talked about it because it is such a perfect subject for what our podcast is about, which is if you're new to the show, we specifically talk about movies that do not have happily ever after endings. And if you haven't seen Black Christmas in a while or you don't know how it ends, I'm going to tell you right now, Billy Butcher, not from The Boys, but he's still out there and no one is safe. And that's how we end the movie.
And perhaps even worse, he's in there.
He's right on top of you. Ugh. So it feels weird that we just now are getting to it, almost 200 episodes in. But we made it. We're going to talk about it. And before we do, I'm going to give you a bit of an info dump surrounding this movie.
Yeah, we're getting there.
So the director is Bob Clark. The film stars Olivia Hussey, Keir Dullea, Margot Kidder, and John Saxon. Oh, that's a warm blanket of a name.
Holy shit. Every single time that man shows up in a movie, you know you're in good hands. But also, that man perfected playing ineffectual cops that are still somehow charming.
He played a guy that's just getting by. He's not lifting
He's doing his best.
He's not lifting an extra finger than necessary. The budget of the film is $686,000. And in terms of the box office return, I got conflicting reports online. Some sites reported as low as $3,000 worldwide because of a limited run, where some are claiming upwards of $4 million.
Wow, interesting.
I think I would say it's probably, if anything, a middling success. If anything, I don't think this is a box office runaway.
Yeah, the reviews were really mixed at the time. You know, especially because it's kind of a proto slasher. It's sort of invents a lot of what John Carpenter would then do 4 years later with Halloween. And I don't think audiences really knew what to make of it at the time because it doesn't have and I'm about to list things that I love about this movie. It doesn't really have an explanation for its killer. It does not have a clear-cut ending. I'm sure at the time the abortion subplot was seen as like scandalous, which now it's like this movie is fucking revolutionary for that.
Yeah.
And also just the Bob Clark of it all is so fascinating to me. The fact that this movie's directed by the man who made Porky's and A Christmas Story.
He did both ends of the gamut for Christmas movies.
I think that makes sense though for this movie.
Yeah.
I think you get both sides of but also I think audiences didn't really know what to do with sort of like the artistry that this movie has along with being a slasher. Like when we were watching it earlier today or yesterday, whenever we watched it.
Yeah.
And when Barb gets murdered and like there's those shots of like all of like the glass figurines while it's happening, like it's not your typical like slasher fare.
No, it's a little bit of a giallo. It's also got some really great soap opera stuff. I mean it's so wild when you read interviews with Bob Clark and other folks associated with this movie. So much of what they talk about is, and granted, this movie became a cult classic over time. So like you get that thing where they're recording commentary tracks 30, 40 years after the movie came out. So there's a lot of like, I think this person said that and I think this was what happened here. But Bob Clark always would downplay how strong this this is. Like when people would ask him about, you know, were you making a statement about Roe v. Wade, which had just been, you know, passed the year before, you know, all this stuff. He was just sort of like, no, I wrote these scenes because these kids needed something to talk about. Like he didn't realize he was making a sort of a semi-feminist manifesto and a critique of misogyny. And like there's so much to plumb from this movie that I don't even know if the people making it knew at the time.
Yeah, this is the crossroads between like Psycho and Halloween,
yes,
I would say. It's
absolutely.
Like it's the new Nightmare if Halloween is Scream. You know what I mean? Like, and I read a thing that said Bob Clark specifically didn't want like teenagers in terms of like how teens act in movies, because again, teenagers, the idea of a teenager was still a relatively new concept,
which is why Peter is played by like a 47-year-old man.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
After he had made 2001: A Space Odyssey.
I know, it's crazy.
I knew I recognized him and I had to look him up and I was like, of course that's where I know him from.
And at this point, not intentionally, that's what most of our season 8 marketing has been, is clips of that guy.
Yep. And lastly, the film holds a 70% on Rotten Tomatoes. Now, before we watch the trailer, I do have a drink of the film, and it is not the Italian Swiss colony straight sherry wine that Miss Mac has been drinking throughout the movie, because I looked high and low for that thing, and it has been discontinued as far as I can tell.
It sounds disgusting.
Did you check the back of your toilet?
I did. I looked at my bookshelf. I looked everywhere. But I actually went to a world market today thinking maybe I can find it here. But based on my research, since like the 70s, because it had been created during Prohibition, and I think it got bought out sometime in the early aughts, maybe even the 2010s. But as far as I can tell, it's no longer in existence. The fact that it's a wine brandy kind of confused me, because it looks like it's like straight up liquor.
I thought she was just downing whiskey through this movie.
Yes, yeah. I made instead, I thought a very festive idea was I made some boozy hot chocolate.
Nice. Oh, that's lovely.
I'm going to send you guys a picture of what it looked like before everything melted and before I drank it. But
that looks whimsical as fuck.
Yeah.
It does.
It was dark chocolate mix, and then I threw in some Emmett's Irish cream, and I threw in some peppermint schnapps, some crushed up candy cane, some whipped cream. It was
that sounds good.
Delightful. But now I feel like I'm going to have dry mouth throughout the entire episode. So while I recover from this, why don't we watch the trailer for Black Christmas?
You know, I don't think I've ever seen this trailer.
I don't know if I have.
I don't think I have either. Love a good gate weave title card.
Oh my gosh. And the fact that it's like immediate in the movie.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's going to be one of these.
Little subliminal editing.
Yeah.
That hair pull.
It's the scariest scene of the movie to me.
It's so good that you never fully see him. Like, I love, even in the chase, you don't really see him.
Mm-hmm.
Can you guys hear my cat? Can you hear her?
No. Claude?
She's in the heat, and we've had to lock her in my bathroom, right? Until her appointment, and she's going, hello? Hello? Hello?
So is Claire.
Claire wishes she was saying anything at all.
This is a sick trailer.
It is, but
like I'm watching this like, oh my god.
I also just realized this is a 4-minute trailer, so maybe this was a mistake.
Yeah, I was thinking I would have just left it on that. Okay, never mind.
This was that guy at the bar. This was the guy at the bar when he was told he had to wait.
Oh.
Agnes, make me a beer, Agnes.
Oh.
A high school girl's been murdered. Mr. Harrison's daughter is missing. And now at the house where she lives, the other girls are getting obscene phone calls.
That guy has such a look.
I have so much to say about Mr. Harrison.
Man, you don't see men like that in movies no more.
Yeah. It rings, it'll ring at the station house too.
I want everyone's outfits.
There was a little girl murdered over in the park tonight. Yes, I heard.
Yes, I heard.
Now this is just confusing. This is a confusing trailer. This is like all the third act stuff.
Yeah.
This is how they used to advertise slashers too. Like the original Friday the 13th, the trailer is here's every kill in the movie.
Please go see our movie.
Who's there?
Are they gonna do like the calls coming from the house?
I think they are. I think they're gonna put it in the trailer.
Scram. It's group 140, terminal
That
55.
guy who looks like Canadian Jermaine Clement tapping the phones.
With a little bit of Chris Parnell tossed in for good measure.
Yeah, sure. I was obsessed with the fact that the phone operator's name is Bill Graham, which I was like, is he named after Alexander Graham Bell?
It's his I would say his uncle, but no, that'd be his nephew. Sorry.
Wow.
Hell yeah.
I should also mention I got myself a little Christmas cookie.
Oh, look at you.
Little Christmas cookie.
For the listener, we are way far out from Christmas, by the way.
It's absolutely fucked that the actress who played Claire.
Remember those idyllic scenes out of your childhood? Crisp winter nights, star bright, sleigh bells, crackling Yule logs, candlelight glistening off of shimmering Christmas trees, chestnuts roasting over open fires, carolers beneath snow-covered window ledges.
What?
Remember those. Remember them well.
Boy, really gilding the lily here, right?
Yeah.
All right, that's my bit part. That's mine.
The narrator of the trailer.
That sounds like a Nathan bit, though.
It really does.
I can see Nathan reading that dialogue.
It sounds like Vincent Price in the Thriller video. Like,
if this movie doesn't make your skin crawl, it's on too tight.
it sounds like David Bowie.
It really does sound like David Bowie.
If this movie doesn't make your skin crawl,
It's on too tight.
That was the whole movie. That was a short story of a short horror story.
It was. So I was saying, like, the actress who plays Claire is fully like holding her breath in multiple shots, like with that, which is just
pretty cool stunt.
It is, but it is buck wild that that's just how they did it.
So dangerous.
It's so dangerous.
Yeah.
She was actually in Eli Roth's Thanksgiving.
Is she really?
Another holiday film.
Wow.
Before we talk about the movie itself, I wanted to ask you guys, do you have a favorite Christmas song? It could be either a carol or it could be a pop song. We never really talked about this.
Okay. I have a couple.
Okay.
I love Last Christmas by Wham.
Yeah,
That's my number one.
I will fight to the death for
If
Paul
you say,
McCartney's.
I was going to say, if you say Paul McCartney, I'm logging out. I'm logging out the call. Goodbye, everybody. Merry Christmas.
And I Wish It Was Christmas Today by Jimmy Fallon. That one that I know it's a terrible, but specifically the Julian Casablancas cover.
Sure.
It's good.
Sure. I can't believe you like the Paul McCartney song, Nathan. I thought so much better of you.
Really?
I hate that fucking song.
No. I'm not surprised that you hate it, that you thought better of me.
He loves the Beatles.
I love the Beatles. Oh. That's what Christmas sounds like in Liverpool.
God damn it. JT, what about you?
Okay, it's funny. John Lennon's Happy Christmas.
Okay.
So this is Christmas.
That's been a recent one though. I mean, like that I don't know, I just started liking it. I've heard it for years.
It's a good one.
Who's the woman that sings Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree?
Oh, she's like a 12-year-old.
Ish? What, really?
Yeah.
She was, yeah,
wow,
when
really?
they recorded that.
Yeah.
I like that one. That's a good song.
I like that one a lot too.
Nathan's like, yeah, she was when she was 12.
She was 12.
She was 12 year old.
She was 12 when she was 12? Okay.
She was a 12 when she was 12.
Ashley, any tunes to throw in?
I love I think it's God Rest You Merry Gentlemen for that really metal line, to save us all from Satan's power.
Satan's power.
Whoa.
It's so good.
It's good.
It's so metal. And Judy Garland's
of course. How did I forget this? The Christmas song.
what's the name of that song? I just heard it on the way to the movies today.
It's the one from Meet Me in St. Louis.
Yeah.
Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas.
Yes.
Why was that not good?
I don't know. Yeah, Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas, specifically by Judy Garland.
That song makes me cry.
It does.
We're having a cool little daisy chain of somehow connecting last week's movie to this week's, because we went from Nick Cave and Noah to Nick Cave and Joker, and then we went from Judy Garland singing Get Happy and Joker to now Judy Garland singing the Christmas song here. Kind of nice.
Love Judy.
I can't wait till Billy shows up in next week's movie.
Hey, he might be an exchange student. There's a little clue for you.
Oh.
Yeah, nice little clue.
So besides my first note being that the film is very cozy, my second note is and starring John Saxon. I'm like, you're goddamn right.
Yeah.
Rest in peace to a king.
Rest in power.
This man had been acting since 1954.
Wow.
And also, speaking of Judy Garland, he starred, well, he didn't star, but he was in A Star is Born, the Judy Garland James Mason one.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
He was in Enter the Dragon, and speaking of Argento, he was in Tenebrae. He was in The Big Score, and he does all of those before he does A Nightmare on Elm Street, and this movie as well.
And if you go on his IMDb, he it's like 200 credits over the course of his career. The dude never stopped working. And just always a dependable face. Always looks like he's got eyeliner on, which I respect.
Who's the mayor from The Dark Knight? What is that actor's name? He's like the continuation of that.
Nestor Carbonell.
Yeah. He's the next embodiment of that. Welcome back, John Saxon. So I guess let's set up this movie. So it literally starts with very similar to how we're gonna see Michael Myers start in Halloween with POV shot of a character entering a house.
And I gotta say, I think this one's better. As iconic as the opening of Halloween is, and I mean truly iconic. like, it's so funny to think about because they, you know, we didn't have GoPros in the 70s.
Yeah.
And in order to like climb up the trellis and all this shit, the camera operator had to like strap, the camera to his shoulders in order to climb. It's wild.
Pretty crazy. And then we get introduced to Margot Kidder, and I just wrote hubba hubba, right? Because I should say this, no disrespect to Olivia Hussey, who I also think is incredibly beautiful, but geez, Margot Kidder in this movie, even though she started the idea with some obscene ideas on sexual assault that have not aged well.
Oh my gosh.
Not at all.
But I was like, I don't know. She's doing a lot for me in this movie.
I had such a crush on her when I was little because she was Lois Lane.
Yeah.
I love Lois Lane. And Margot Kidder is so good in this movie, but because you immediately see her holiday get ruined, and she's just kind of acting out the rest of the movie to the point where like you see that she's like, she knows she's dug herself in a hole and she can't figure out how to go any other direction but further down.
Yeah.
Like you really see the spiral for her.
She's really going through it, this movie. And then we get our first phone call.
Right.
The Mona.
This is a masterclass of just editing and voice work. And I love that, like, as the call is going on and Margaret Kidder is just, you know, not having any of this shit, and the slow pan across all the girls' faces of like,
I love it. Yeah.
It's like, it's kind of funny, and then it's annoying, and then it's creepy, and then it's like very scary.
Yeah, by the end of it, they're all just sort of like staring straight ahead.
Yeah.
Like hypnoptized.
Just taking it all
numb.
in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and Nick Mancuso as the voice of Billy is so scary.
Really good.
Yeah.
I remember reading that he, for some of the takes, Bob Clark would have him like stand on his head so it would compress his vocal cords.
Yep.
And then there are also a few of the voices are uncredited, and now they aren't sure who did some of the voices.
Yeah.
Like, and there's that really terrifying moment where Claire's like, could it really be one person?
Well, yeah, that's my question too. Like, because later on he has one of those calls where it sounds like multiple people, but he's in the house.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how is this happening?
And also they're overlapping.
Yeah, they are overlapping.
The overlapping. Yeah. How does no one actually hear him while he's doing this?
Right, the soundproofed attic.
Yeah.
I know that he's calling from.
But yeah, like I love how simple this idea is, because I guess we could talk about this too. This is kind of one of the first movies based on the urban legend of the babysitter and the man upstairs, right?
Sure.
And I did a little bit of research. It's kind of hard to find like concrete stuff about Jeanette Christman.
Like where it started.
Of where the urban legend, everyone pretty much agrees like this is like the basis for this thing. But I think this is great. I mean, this kind of coins the idea of the call is coming from inside the house, like that phrase.
Totally.
Even though when a stranger calls, I think is after this. I think it's like a year. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a few
it's
years later.
And I wanted to ask about that. I don't know how phones worked in the 70s, but I remember in the 90s as a kid, as a dumb kid, being like, what happens if I do this? And trying to call my own phone number. You can't do that.
There is one line of dialogue that explains it.
It is a throwaway line.
Oh,
yeah.
I must have missed it then. Okay.
Yeah, there's a line later.
Belle is like, is this the only line in the house? And Saxon goes, the den mother has one, but it doesn't. She's not here right now.
Okay.
Yeah, he says it's a different number and he's never called it or something like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
So he just fully throws that away. It's really smart.
Gotcha.
But I also love the idea that like he's called so many times that they're used to it. They have a nickname for him. Barb makes a joke about how he's expanded his act. And I don't think there's a scarier moment in the movie than when, after all of the like showing off different voices, screeching, screaming, he just very calmly says, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, like the game's over.
Yes.
You know?
It makes my skin crawl. And like, you don't know if Barb actually like heard him say it.
Right.
It's so good.
And the dynamic from like the girls all like laughing and being like, whatever, to that just like
it delivers. Oh, sorry.
No, sorry. I'm gonna let Petunia, my cat, out of the bathroom and just let her walk around my office.
Oh yeah, I cannot hear her at all.
Okay,
I hear her a little bit.
It's very loud for me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can hear her a little bit.
I remember when I first watched this, it being an older movie. I knew it wasn't going to be violent, anything like that. But the vile shit that Billy says,
Oh yeah,
I was just like, oh shit, this is ugh. This is disgusting.
It's horrendous. And a lot of it was like not scripted. It was like Bob Clark would say different dialogue off screen for the girls to react to. And then they recorded the dialogue later because he was like, I also don't want these women to have to be on set and have me just yell obscenities at them for hours, which I think is a nice move.
It's also nice to have the option of like, I can go in and change what there's like, my understanding is he gave them a very muted direction of like, look up, you know, concerns, but not like you're reacting to anything specific. So we're going to have all this reign to go in, you know.
Totally.
And then Claire, one of the girls, is like, I'm not doing this shit. I'm out.
Yeah.
Goes upstairs to pack. And I got to say, blocking is so important in movies.
Oh my gosh. Absolutely.
This movie is now 50 years old
Yeah.
when we're recording this.
So is this guy on the screen right now. I'm sorry.
Patrick is the oldest college student of all time.
Gene Shalit?
Gene Shalit.
Is that what you're talking about?
He's so old.
Yeah.
Sorry.
God. Man, but like the blocking is so good because when Claire's closet door is open and the light is on, it is illuminated.
Yes.
I cannot see Billy standing behind the transparent plastic over some of the clothes.
But he's there. He's there. As the camera gets closer, he becomes more evident.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many shots of dialogue where if you're not paying attention, you're going to miss the shadow spooking, you know, like making its way up the stairs or down the stairs in the background. This movie is so good at giving you only what you need for each scene to function too.
Yeah. And a lot of like, you know, older movies, you can like, you know, when they start to put out Blu-rays and stuff, they crank up the brightness and everything. And then you can see like Sleepaway Camp. You can see who the villain is before it's revealed, you know?
Absolutely.
Like this movie, he's already in the light. He's already standing behind transparent material and you still can't really see him unless you know to look for him. Like that jump scare where he grabs her gets me every time because I know he's there and I still can't see him.
Oh, it's so good.
Well, and not to be a real Krampus here, but like we used to light our fucking movies.
We used to have a good sense of how to light things. You're absolutely right. I gotta say, I'm watching one of my favorite TV shows right now is Silo. I don't know if you guys have been watching Silo on Apple TV.
Oh, no, I haven't.
Like, they do, even though it's modern lighting, you know, where like nothing can really be dark, nothing can be really in the shadows. The whole show is set in an underground silo and you get a good sense of, even though it's very muted lighting, like it's lit very well. So I will give it that. But like most modern TV, everything is overlit or it's super, super underlit where you can't see a fucking thing.
I feel like modern film is the same way. I am baffled by the way Wicked looks as a $200 million film. Like, it is insane to me.
How it looks like fake when most of the things are practical in it is wild to me. Yeah. Like, how did that happen? Like,
especially when we're getting into like AI, how everything looks. Even though if it's not AI generated, it looks like it's AI. Like, I don't know. I miss backlighting. I miss ring lighting.
Yeah.
Like giving people catch lights in their eyes. Like nothing is substance anymore.
And even when this movie gets kind of, you know, it does things for the sake of the audience, like it is a extremely well lit forest that they go looking for, you know, the missing girl in. But it feels of a piece with the rest of the movie.
Sure.
And sorry, my next note here is the score that is just piano wires being fucked with is also so spare and so effective. Like every piece of this movie is so perfect at setting a mood.
I saw a thing that said the composer would tie forks to the piano strings as he was playing them to get like a more wobbly kind of distorted effect, which is pretty cool. It's interesting you say that because my next note is that Miss Mac is a real one.
Oh yeah, Miss McHenry, Queen of Vaudeville.
She's wild.
Hiding her booze in books, behind toilet seats, or in the toilets, I should say.
I don't know if I would drink it after it's been in the toilet for a while. I don't know if I would trust that seal.
No, and even if you're in a bag, anything submerged in water, I feel like you're still going to be kind of damp. You know what I mean?
It's a toilet.
At the end of the day, it's a toilet.
At the end of the day, it's a toilet.
So I know it's a bit that she hides it all over the house, but I've always wondered, like, are you hiding the fact that you drink from college students.
Right.
I don't know why she hides it.
It's just supposed to be a funny thing.
Yeah, she's supposed to be the uptight one.
Yeah.
I like that.
What if she's like, no, I'm actually 17, so that's why I have to hide it.
And I don't think these girls want to drink sherry wine, whatever the fuck that is.
I don't know. Margot Kidder might want to. Like
That's
this girl.
That girl she's got booze hanging from the wreath on her door.
She does.
Door, I know.
She's got booze everywhere, and she's also got so much that she's giving it to children as well.
Oh my gosh,
which I thought was
absolutely insane.
Insane.
Do you notice that? Also insane. Do you notice Claire starts packing all of the clothes she owns for winter break?
Every single thing, everything.
She's leaving forever.
Yep.
She's never coming back.
It's going to be cold.
Yeah, it's gonna be cold, man. She needs
cold.
a mole.
She's gonna go live with Chris in his big fur coat.
That's right.
I love that coat.
It's
such
so
a good coat.
I love him. He's one of my favorite characters.
God, I'm just reading these subtitles.
Oh yeah,
So
we're watching the call happen right now. The first call.
I also there's a moment that I love right before this call where it's Phil, who is I gotta say is my MVP of the movie.
She's
like
the
I
best.
just adore her. Phil and Jess have clearly just finished talking about something serious. Like Phil's head is down and she's looking very solemn. And it wasn't until like the second or third time that I watched this movie that I was like, oh, Jess has just told her I'm pregnant.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like that is what's, and they're trying to figure out, okay, well, things are going to get difficult from here. And then the moaner calls just to make things worse.
The moaner. I
The
know it's his
moaner.
name. I know it's his name, but the fact that's the moaner is pretty good.
That's also how I got tickets to Moana 2 today. I said 3 for the Mona.
I'm a real moaner. I think the gift that keeps on giving in this movie, a little pun intended, is just the shot of Claire wrapped in the plastic.
Oh,
sitting
absolutely.
in the rocking chair.
It's so striking.
It's uncomfortable.
It's a good reprise every time it happens, and it's chilling every time.
Mhm.
And it's the fact that the actress is really in there in a real plastic bag wrapped around her head, just holding her breath for minutes on end.
I did have the question, would it have stayed sort of sucked into her mouth if she was dead? Is that, I don't know how that works.
I think if depending on how tight the bag is, if nothing is getting in there and the oxygen is staying contained within that bag, I think it would.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I mean, there is a possibility that like her final gasp of breath would like, expel it a little bit, but no, I think it probably would.
Ugh.
You know what I mean?
Terrifying.
I mean, we could just look it up, Dustin.
Yeah, go ahead. Why don't you look that up, JT?
How does a bag...
Yeah, put that on your search history.
Hey, man, this is my... I'm about to say, hold on. This is my search history.
Yeah.
You're going to be looking... Yeah, go for it. Fuck it. Go for it.
I do also, when there's a shot in the attic later where you see... Or no, it's in Mrs. Mack's room. She's got a poster for the McHenry sisters who were like a touring act, which I think is like a great little bit of character building too. And it explains why she's like prancing around singing constantly.
Yeah.
The cat.
Claude.
So cute.
Did we know if does the cat make it?
cat
Yes,
makes it.
the
Yeah,
cat
it's just
makes
licking
it.
that bag later.
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah, that's right.
The cat survives.
I think the only thing that I wish because this movie's pretty short.
Yeah.
I kind of wish we had like 5 to 10 minutes longer just to really branch out the girls.
Sure.
Like maybe either before or after the first phone call, but like Claire, we don't really get to know that much, but she's the one victim we come back to the most.
Right.
And, like Phil, I feel like is kind of a little underutilized for the most part, but like this movie is just on fast forward.
I feel like some of that is intentional with Claire because so much of the conflict of this movie is grown men making assumptions about Claire, and the fact that they keep making these assumptions kind of fucks everyone over. I mean, every single time when they go to the police are like, she's probably just shacking up with a boyfriend. Her dad comes over and he's just like, oh, there's a who's this boy she's been seeing? Even when Fuller, John Saxon shows up, who's like been sort of the sympathetic ear the whole time, the first thing he does is start asking like, she got emotional problems? Was she a heavy drinker? You know?
Was she seeing anybody else other than, like they thought she was seeing multiple people?
Yeah. Sorry, I sent a picture of Petunia, who's now just sitting there watching me.
So cute.
She sees ghosts or something.
What does she think?
What do you think about Black Christmas, Tuna? Now she wants to be quiet. Okay. I don't really have any other notes until we get to the abortion stuff, but if I don't want to gloss over anything.
Well, I think the Claire's father.
Oh right, yeah,
is such a fantastic. This is the best performance by a James Edmund as Mr. Harrison. is one of the best performances from a stressed out parent in a horror movie. I would compare it to that dad who has the meltdown in Silver Bullet.
Oh,
one of JT's faves.
Hell yeah.
Core's the movie.
Core's the movie.
No, I think he's great, and I think he's got a good look, and yeah, we don't get just pretty much starring characters. Like he's got a pretty big role in this movie. We don't get people that just look like that in movies anymore.
Absolutely not.
And it's wild to me that like when he's on the street and he like stops somebody and he's like, hey, I was supposed to meet my daughter. Do you happen to know her?
Right.
And he doesn't, like Mr. Harris doesn't even know where the sorority house is.
Right.
Yeah.
Some guy has to take him there.
Yeah, he's so disconnected, but he also expects other people to take care of this shit.
Yeah.
But I also feel like given how his character is defined, like how strict and everything is, I feel like he would have like visited this house
Absolutely.
before, you know?
Yeah. I mean, he's like pissed off about the racy posters.
The posters
in the
is a good
house
gig.
that Mrs. Mack trying to cover up. Yeah.
It's a good bit.
I could do with less of Mrs. Mack yelling at the cat.
It goes on for quite a while.
We could cut 5 minutes of the movie of that stuff, but I do
like
love
her little dance she's doing.
Yeah, she does a little whiskey dance. When Mr. Harrison gets in the taxi to go to the police station and the camera zooms out from the taxi through the window and we see like basically just Claire's dead body looking down at him is like one of the most upsetting images.
Poor Claire, man. I know, like, I'm sure we're going to talk about this when we get to the end with like best kill, but like, man, Claire's death gets to me because of how it just keeps coming back throughout the story.
And the fact that like when you think about it, she's dead in the house the entire movie, basically. Like the whole time her dad is there, the whole time they're freaking out, like Claire is dead in the attic, and it's
I mean, you could see it from the window.
Yeah.
And she becomes a prop because there's so many scenes of Billy just like rocking her and freaking out and just kind of monologuing at her. And yeah, my next note is Jess in her big ass hat tells Peter she doesn't want to keep the baby.
That hat is pretty large.
It's so big. It's such a big hat.
No, I mean, you've already talked about it, but I think what's more impressive than this movie being lauded as like one of the first real films that pioneered the slasher genre is that it does openly talk about abortion in this very candid way.
Yeah.
And the fact that we're now post Roe v. Wade repeal, it feels like it's much more prescient. But the fact that it's 1974 and she's telling this guy basically where to step off
it's unbelievable, right?
And it's only 6 years after the Hays Code ended, which is like we you know, Hitchcock got all this shit for showing a toilet flushing with paper in it, and then like 10 years later we're doing this, and I thought that was really crazy. And I love that the conversation that they have where, you know, she's putting her foot down about this stuff and she just talks about, I want to be able to still do things. I don't want to have this shotgun wedding and be your trad wife. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, the speech that she gives him later where she's like, remember all of those things that I told you I wanted to do? I still want to do all that. Like she's so great. And what I love too is that the movie doesn't paint her in any sort of negative or positive way. Like she's just a girl surviving. Like they don't make her out to be like super promiscuous or like I don't know. I really love the way
the final girl.
Yeah,
she's still a final girl.
She's still a final girl.
But yeah, she's going through this. It's just something that happened.
Yeah, exactly.
And the argument isn't sensationalized. It is like you said, Dustin. It's just a thing. It's a part of the story. It's a part of her story. And she, you know, Peter. The movie really, it's weird because we as the audience know Peter is not the killer. The movie really wants the other characters to think Peter's the killer, so he is unreasonable from the word go. He's like, you can't make a decision like that. You haven't even asked me. Don't you know how important this afternoon is to me?
He's the worst.
And even when she makes that great speech you were talking about, Ashley, it begins with her saying, do you remember when you told me you wanted to be a concert pianist and then I told you the things I want?
Yeah.
Like, she knows that the only thing he's going to remember are the things that he wants.
Yeah.
My only thing about their relationship is sometimes in movies, you see these relationships and you just wonder, how the fuck did these two people come together?
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? like she doesn't seem like she would ever be attracted to Peter because he just sucks.
Right. What did she see in him?
It feels like they just had a party at the sorority house.
Right.
And it was like a hookup that then led to this.
He was probably like tinkering on the piano and like.
Yeah, he's an old jazz man.
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell.
Yeah.
He sits his old bones down at the piano next to a zillion spent cigarettes.
He's so sweaty all the time.
He's so sweaty.
I'm going to say something bold. That piece he plays for his thesis fucking sucks.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
That was the thing. So much like I don't understand card games, one of my big issues with that scene is I can't tell when he's fucking up.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, is this avant-garde?
The whole time I'm like, is any of this good?
Yeah.
Is any of this supposed to sound okay? Because it doesn't.
We covered this on Ashley and I covered this on our podcast a few years back, and the thing that I keep thinking of every time I see this scene is Daffy Duck and Donald Duck having the dueling pianos in Roger Rabbit. I think that's what it sounds like to me.
When does the movie make it clear that Peter is not Billy?
I think not, like up until he's dead. I think
there's a couple of times where, I mean, she says it at one point. She's like, he was with me during one of the phone calls,
but he comes downstairs after the phone call.
That's
and even
true.
Says,
You're right.
Oh, I was upstairs taking a nap.
Right.
Which, first of all, how did he get into the place? Which means someone must have let him in, if anything, or maybe he broke in. Because when they have that fiery conversation and he leaves the house and then they show him just at the tree in the dark peeking at the house, like
just crying in the front yard.
So I'm thinking, because back then they didn't have wireless.
What?
How could he have, if he was using the other line, if he was the killer using the other line, he scared her. She had just hung up the phone.
Yeah,
that's true.
So like, how could he be like, yeah. So I think that's why she thinks he was with me during one of the calls. So that couldn't have been him.
That's a good point. I'm going to throw out another theory here, and I'm not saying this one's popular, but what if Peter is Santa Claus and can be everywhere in one night?
Hold on.
Boom! There's the flavor.
Oh, all right. Well, discuss.
What's to discuss? I think you nailed it.
Okay.
I think you got it.
Yeah, you got it, bud.
Well, don't forget to like and subscribe.
So Santa can't play the piano.
That's right.
I think the movie, aside from Claire, the Claire part of it, the gift that does keep on giving is split diopter shots, baby. Here's one for you. Here's one for you.
I wanted to like stand up and salute every time I saw one.
I did. I stood in front of my TV and gave it a hearty one every single time.
I kissed my photo of Brian De Palma.
I was going to say, this is De Palma's favorite movie. Man, I don't remember when it is. I think it may be when Mrs. Mack goes up to the attic to chase after Claude. I think it's then they do it. But there is a snap zoom on Claire's body in the rocking chair.
Yes.
That like, this is like 6 years before The Shining that I feel like Kubrick had to have seen and was inspired by, because those snap zooms are so precise.
It's a snap zoom on her body, and then it cuts back to Mrs. Mack and does another zoom on her reaction, and it is just perfect heightening of tension.
It is my favorite piece of a camera technique, like much more than like the Hitchcock zoom or anything like that. The snap zoom is just, if it's executed well, it can be done for comedic effect like Edgar Wright has perfected, or it can be done for just straight up horror like they do in this movie. And I love it. And then Mrs. Mack gets a pulley hook to the face. Ooh. It's a lot.
She kind of deserves it, though. She's so annoying in this part.
Wow. Oh.
Okay.
But no, just we're watching the movie's playing in the background as we record this, and just watching her right now. She's so like, this annoyed me when we watched it yesterday. She's getting annoyed that the taxi guy is honking because she's making him wait while she looks for her cat.
Right.
And I'm like, what in the world, woman? You're being so annoying.
Ashley saw Miss Mac die and said,
"Oh my God, who cares?"
We're getting a lot of Will Arnett this episode. Just FYI.
It's true.
Oh man.
And then I do love that we get the reprise of the abortion conversation, and that Jess just puts her foot down. She's like, no, this is the end of the discussion. And then Peter just kind of like throwing his hands up like Rod and Hot Rod and just storming out of the house.
Babe, wait! Babe, wait! Babe, wait! Babe, wait! Babe! Babe, wait! Babe! 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 Babe, wait, babe, no! Babe, no!
Oh,
babe,
God.
no! Babe!
It's not over, by the way. Just so you know.
Babe! Babe! No, babe! Wait!
All right, there we go.
That's my favorite. I got these hot rod sound drops. Should I make that dose?
Dude, Nathan and I used to say that shit to each other. Oh my god, tour
all the time.
God.
So we get the guy after the conversation with Peter. We are introduced to Lieutenant Nash, one of the most hateable characters in film history.
Yeah, he sucks.
He gets his come up. It's a good bit here. He gets made the fool.
Oh,
for
absolutely.
Sure.
Oh, sorry, Sergeant Nash.
Please.
This is Douglas McGrath. Gotta put some respect on his name.
Deputy Nash is his father.
Yeah, I coined a cabin. All cops are bastards, especially Nash.
Oh, yeah.
Nash, who keeps telling Barb to shut up and then says, Mr. Harrison, if you're convinced your daughter is missing, you can fill out these forms.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you.
All my homies hate Nash. Man, I gotta tell you, I took so few notes in this movie, not because I didn't like it or I didn't have anything to say, but because this movie, and I feel like this is intentional, feels very just kind of, in its direction and the way the characters interact with one another, it feels kind of just, and it's going to sound like it's an insult, but it's not, a very like blasé.
Oh, sure.
It's straightforward, absolutely.
Yeah, the characters are just kind of like, there's overlapping dialogue, characters are just kind of just mulling about doing whatever, but the plot is moving forward at a pretty good pace. So like, anytime John Saxon is like asked to do anything other than sit in his chair, he's kind of like, you know, like there's always an exacerbated sigh right before he gets up, and I'm like, that's kind of how the movie feels.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
For the characters, at least.
And that's why it's so infuriating, because everyone is acting like, no, it's super normal that this girl has disappeared.
Yeah.
I mean, even when Mrs. Quaife, who comes in to tell the cops that her daughter Janice is missing, she's worn down. You can tell she's gone over every detail 1,000 times. And I think this is so smart. I don't know if this was intentional, but Saxon plays it like he's really listening. Yeah. He's really taking in everything she says, but he's not writing anything down.
Right,
he's not taking any notes. He's just like, okay, well, you know, is it weird that she didn't come home at 4:00 or whatever? And she's like, yes.
That's why I'm here.
She's a child.
It feels like the movie is in like that holiday haze.
Yeah.
Like the time between Christmas and New Year's, where like things are just happening.
The goose is getting fat.
I've lost the sense of time. You know, like I don't know what day it is.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like that's the movie, like how it's operating, and I like that.
Right.
But because it still feels kind of cozy. Like even though characters are dying, nothing feels super urgent.
Right.
If that makes sense. Like it's like, well, it's cold outside, man.
During the third act of the movie, we stop for carolers, and then we have two guys from the search party show up to be goofy for a minute. Like,
Right.
I love that scene.
I do too.
I have two questions. Number one, they do the search party looking for Claire.
Yes.
And they come across Janice's dead body.
Right.
Billy killed Janice, right? Just before he got to the house.
Yeah, I
That's
think
my
so.
understanding.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Completely unrelated.
Or that. I was gonna say, or it's that. She just happened to be dead.
Yeah.
But my number two is
She just happened to be dead.
There's a second serial killer out there.
We got a bigger problem.
In my 34 years on this earth,
Humble
I
brag.
have never had carolers come to my door.
Okay.
Maybe it's because of that sign that says, if you carol outside my door, I'll shoot you in the face. But maybe it's because they know that I don't like people singing at me. Maybe that's why they don't come to my house.
Our kid is about to be a caroler
Oh my God.
next week.
That's precious.
She's about to go around and do this.
Am I the only one? Like, have you guys had carolers come to your door?
No.
Well, I remember it happening once when I was young, but like, I gotta say, like, I think the concept of door-to-door caroling is so strange.
It's bizarre.
Yeah, the way that this goes down is a little different. Like, you have to get in touch with the organization that's putting it together and let them know that you want the caroling to happen, and the carolers come to your house, but you're not like surprised about it.
Okay, so it's more like a caroler-gram.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's a caroler-gram.
Okay, that makes more sense than literally going door to door.
Right.
I just feel like, especially in today's climate,
Sure.
going door to door.
No, I would not do this. Absolutely not.
As I said in the last episode, I don't ever want anyone singing to me unless they're trying to catch these hands, because
our neighbors have a "Don't tread on me" flag outside. We're not sending our kid over there to surprise them.
No, absolutely not.
Do you think I could get an alteration of the "Don't tread on me" that says "Don't sing to me"?
Don't sing
like
to
that
me.
includes "Happy Birthday"?
Don't sing to me.
I don't want any of that. I don't want to be a part of any of that shit. Don't ever sing at me.
Don't ever sing at me.
I also have to say, fellatio, the new exchange, is such a funny joke that barely works outside of the 70s.
It's a little bit of levity in the movie. You know, you need a little bit of it.
It's good. It's good. It's just, it is also another idea that, like, Nash is the dumbest motherfucker alive.
I know. Between that and then how he fucks up the end of the movie, too.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
I think this is something I have a question too. At some point here, I think it's Jess asks Phil for some aspirin, and she goes, "How many?" And she goes, "Oh, 2." I'm like, that's some rookie numbers, man. But I'm taking any kind of some Tylenol or anything, I'm like, I'm a fistful. Like, I need to knock the shit out.
Well, Jess is still, her character is at least 19, 20. We're in our 30s.
True.
That's when you need those, you need to bump those numbers up.
She's also pregnant. I guess I should give her a little bit of slack.
Right.
I love that the back half of this movie is mostly John Saxon sitting at his desk, which is already, I'm like, I can relate to this character more than anyone else in the movie. But that's exactly John Saxon's acting style to me. It's hey, what do you want from me? You know what I mean?
I love to, we see more of him at the desk, and then we see more of like the relationship of the guys in the station.
Yes.
They're like just kind of joking around during the second half of the movie, and I love it.
I agree.
Oh yeah, all the other officers thought that fellatio joke was hilarious.
That one guy is losing it.
Buchanan or whatever.
Yes. Yeah. Buchanan laughs at everything. I love it.
He loves it.
He gets laugh at his partner getting shot
in
with
the
a
butt,
buckshot or a bird shot.
Yes, right. And also you get a feel for how kind of small and connected this area is, not just from the search party and everyone kind of chipping in to help, but like when Chris, Claire's boyfriend, busts in, yells at Nash, like he comes in, he's like, "Nash, you fucking asshole." John Saxon comes in and he's like, "Hey, Chris, how's your brother?" And Chris refers to him by his first name. Like there's a familiarity there that is built in.
I do love that small town, like everybody kind of knows everybody kind of vibe to it.
Right.
So what's the order? It's Claire dies, and then, Janice is somewhere in there. We don't ever really meet, right? We don't ever see her on screen.
No, they find her body, but we just see the reaction
right
from their faces,
which I think is so smart.
Yeah.
And then is Barb next?
I think so.
I guess McCready. We've got Miss Mac,
right?
Or whatever her name is. I'm thinking of the thing.
I'm thinking of the thing.
That's Mac's mom.
But we get that excellent sequence where Barb is drunk and she's trying to kind of chase her demons away with a lot of jokes.
Yeah.
And then finally she sinks into the couch and is just like, "You think it's my fault. If she's dead, you're gonna blame me."
Yeah.
And everyone's just like, "Barb, you should go to bed."
Yeah.
And I love that Phil doesn't speak up until it starts to get like personal. Like Phil is like laughing at the turtle story.
Yeah.
And just sort of like there's a feeling of like, okay, Barb gets like this every now and then.
Right.
This movie is so good at giving you exposition without like shoving it down your throat.
Yeah.
Making it obvious.
Yeah. I love, and then she gets personal and feels like, okay, you need to go to bed.
Yeah.
It's too much.
And Phil too, when she has that moment where she breaks down and she tells Jess, like, she's dead. I know I can feel it.
It breaks my heart. It's so good.
It's really good. And I feel like you would have someone in this house that would have a reaction like that.
Oh,
absolutely.
Sure.
Especially like, this is, I actually have a kind of a trivia note. Like, I don't know if you guys knew this, but when this movie was going to have its network television premiere, they had to send a letter out because Ted Bundy had just killed 2 sorority girls on the FSU campus.
Yeah.
So like, this is like peak Ted Bundy time. Like, serial killers have finally become a thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. The panic must have been real. You know what I mean?
I also saw that it aired on TV under an alternate title.
Yes.
Stranger in the House.
Oh,
and they were just
really?
like, even more, because they were airing it outside of Christmas time.
Yeah.
And they were like, even more, we have to make it clear that like, this is not meant to comment on anything that's happening right now. Here's what you should do in these circumstances. And it was a few more years before Bundy was even connected to that crime.
Yeah. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, it also was was released under a different name internationally as well. I think it went by like Silent Night, Deadly Night or something like that.
Oh, really? Before Silent Night, Deadly Night? That's crazy.
I think I read something about that. Yeah, no, they didn't know what to do with this one.
Yeah, the original title was Stop Me.
Stop Me, yeah.
Is not nearly as good of a title. Also.
No, Black Christmas Rules. That's a great title.
That, yeah.
So Peter fucks up a piano, and that'll show everyone.
This was I was so confused by this. I'm like, does he not think that they'll know who it is? Like, there's like probably, I don't know, 5 people in this program.
Who's our student with emotional problems that plays the piano badly?
Who is the guy sweating and crying while he was playing? He probably had something to do with it.
But also, like, what made me laugh was he's like busting this piano and he's accidentally recreating the score for the movie. Right. That's what it sounds like.
No, Peter, I don't know what his whole deal is. He's got some demons he's working through.
He does.
I really, I'll be honest, and you guys tell me if we're skipping over anything, but I don't have much until we get to like the climax of the film when they do the call tracing.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Do you guys have anything?
Well, my next really big notes are, we covered finding Janice's body, and I think it's so smart that it's, the close-ups of their faces reacting. We hear the dogs barking. It's important that we don't see what they see, but it wrecks everybody.
Yeah.
And then, we keep cutting back to the station to see the police still not taking things seriously. Like Nash is talking to someone on the phone. He goes, "Calm down, lady. What's the story?" "Well, miss, we're very busy. There's been a child murder in the park."
I know.
It's probably just one of your boyfriends playing a little joke. And I do love when Saxon like calls him out on it. He goes, "Oh, I didn't want to bother you with this, sir." And he goes, "Well, you didn't.
Yeah.
Here's the connection, you idiot."
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I know it's very popular, especially in 70s, 80s slashers, of like characters, quote unquote, playing pranks or playing jokes.
Sure.
And that's like where a lot of the scares come from. But like, I guess I never really thought about it from like the police side of things. Like, I guess they have to constantly get calls about things that they think, like people think that something genuinely bad is happening. It turns out it's just a prank, right?
Right. Well, and it seems to be that they're a small station that's covering kind of a large parish because like they're sending guys out to the outskirts to check on farmers and shit. So I feel like they're having to make decisions of, okay, is this something that we really need to expend our time on?
Sure.
Which doesn't excuse it, because like five different people have called about the same creep.
No, sure, I get that. I guess my I don't know if it's an observation or not, but I guess I've never really thought about it. Like,
were pranks just a bigger deal back then?
Either that, or even today, like, do police constantly get calls where they're like, people that genuinely think something bad's happened, it turns out, oh, it is just a prank by the time they investigate it, and they're just wasting time?
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I mean, swatting's a thing.
True, that's very true. I guess I didn't think about that.
But I feel like you can trace calls like a lot easier now.
Right.
So I feel like it'd be harder to prank call the police.
Speaking of tracing calls, I guess back in the 70s, I never really considered like what that would entail, but it makes sense that it is just a guy running up and down the phone lines.
Yeah.
The Hall of Prophecies from Harry Potter.
to see who else is like making a call at that time or whatever. Like, I guess I never thought about that, but it does make sense, I guess, especially in an analog time.
Well, and it sucks for Jess so much because they're like, you got to keep him on the line, lady. Like, she's like, I don't want to fucking hear any of this.
I don't want to be here.
You got to let him yell at you.
Right.
Yeah.
But also, it's not even like, I don't want to sit there and hear it, but it's also like, what do you want me to say?
Right.
To keep him on, like,
oh, that's interesting. The slander.
Tell me more.
It doesn't sound like he wants to hear me talk.
Oh, and so what did you do with the baby, Billy?
I'm sorry, pig what? You want to lick my pig what?
She should have been like, I thought, have any of these fuckers ever bursted out of the walls, Billy?
Watch your profanity.
I'm sorry, JT, you're right. I should have said that.
My next note is Barb has a glass menagerie and an asthma problem.
Man, the glass unicorn kill is iconic. Mm-hmm. It's a very good kill.
It's incredible.
The reveal of Billy's eye perfectly in the lights. And then, of course, it's edited all together with the carolers.
Yeah.
It's really, really good.
Does it seem like it's from a different movie, though?
Oh, it's like an Argento scene. Like, it is, it's wild.
Yeah, like it feels different from any of the other kills we get.
True.
I wondered if, because none of the other kills we actually see the kill happening except for Claire.
Right.
Not a violent thing. It's bag over the head, right? It's just no blood.
Yeah, not violence at all.
No violent.
Not gory.
Right.
That's how I want to go out for sure.
It made me wonder, like, did they get like a rating? Did they have to edit that or something
I
to
do
make
know that Bob Clark went through the screenplay and removed like gorier sequences that were in the original script because he wanted it to be more about atmosphere and less about like nastiness. So I don't know if maybe that's like a leftover from the early version of the screenplay, but you're right. It is like significantly more violent. It's the clearest look we get at Billy, who's played by Bob Clark in this shot.
Yeah.
In the shot where he's like standing over her.
The way it's just different from everything else, or how it just the shooting through the glass and how it's all blurry and stuff. It just seems like it's
and the way it's edited. Yeah.
I think Nathan's right. I think this is kind of like paying an homage to Argento.
Okay.
This feels like I just saw Deep Red for the first time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I saw Deep Red for the first time this year, and that feels like it's straight out of that.
100%.
But the contrast to this, when she's looking at the carolers and just has a sheer joy on her face.
Oh yeah, it's so good.
That could be from the most wholesome Christmas movie I've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's maybe my favorite moment in the movie. That shot right there where you see her face kind of haloed in the lights, and then the smile melts away when this woman comes running up. Like she had just a few moments of happiness on Christmas Eve, and it's just like all gone now.
Yeah.
But it's an incredible like silent performance.
I think the idea of making Barb's death more violent, it could be a precursor to the idea of like the more promiscuous girls get like the more violent death.
Sure.
Or it could even be, you mentioned they shoot through the glass. I think that's a smart way to avoid a lot of the violence and gore, but also make it very unsettling, because you can't see it fully.
And I think this movie subverts the trope of the girl, the virginal hero, right? Because I mean, Jess is an expecting mother.
Yeah.
No, I also think it could be an homage to Hitchcock with Psycho, because you never really see the knife go in.
Sure.
Here, I don't think you see the glass unicorn actually.
No, you don't.
Yeah. But you're right, it is a much more violent death than like say suffocation by a bag,
right?
And every other death is pretty much either off screen or we don't really see the contact, like Miss Mac getting the hook pulley,
which could have been just a hit in the head, or it could have been stabbed through the throat. Like the sounds we hear are more graphic than anything we see.
Yeah.
My big question is, what time is it?
She asked this like 4 times in the last 30 minutes of the movie.
Because I feel like it can't be too late because carolers are still out.
Right.
But Barb's been asleep for like a while.
Yeah.
I mean, it's dark outside right now for me, and it's only
true. Same.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I guess, especially in Canada too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It just seems like the longest night ever to exist.
It sure does. Oh, hey, not a bad title. The Longest Night. There you
go.
There
you go.
This was when I pitched, since it's Canada, 30 A's of Night.
Good.
Bravo.
I love being able to see Dustin be disappointed in me now.
I thought that was a good joke.
Thank you.
One thing I really enjoy too is that it seems like even if our main characters go to different places other than the house, some of them are back at the house is never empty, it seems like.
Oh,
right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I feel like that progresses the story. Like Dustin was talking about, it progresses it further along because, we all know Billy's in the house. There's always someone in the house. And then they do this amazing thing where, like, by the way this is shot, I know where the attic is to the phone.
Yes.
I know where everybody's room is. It seems like I can make myself at home.
Another thing John Carpenter would use to amazing effect 4 years later, like by the time the credits roll on Halloween, every part of the Doyle house.
The blueprints.
My next note is just, you can tell how inspired Carpenter was from this movie. Not just because of the setup of like the opening scene, especially, and like this escaped crazy person killing people or whatever, however you want to define it. But a lot of the ending too, because the empty shots of this house during the climax is just screaming like that's the end of Halloween, where we revisit all the locations we've been.
Absolutely.
And of course, not to mention the killer still being on the loose at the end,
Oh, yeah. And another of my favorite lines happens around here where the killer says something about killing the baby, and so that throws more suspicion on Peter. He even says he repeats the removing a wart line, like he must have overheard Peter say that about the baby.
Yeah.
And Saxon is like, you can't kill the baby. That's a strange way of putting it. Yeah. Olivia Hussey says, well, Pete is an artist. He's very high strung.
It's very true.
He's an artist.
It's really got me.
That's deflecting the question.
Did you see this thing? I think I read it on Wikipedia. I can't remember, but they were something like they had asked like the cast about the making of it and everything, and there's people being like, yeah, it was fun making it. Olivia Hussey is a bit of an odd one though. Yeah. And they were like, oh, she thought she was going to become famous and marry Paul McCartney.
Right.
So that's why she took the part. Her psychic told her.
Yes, that's what I read. Yeah.
If you take there's a job that's going to come up in Canada soon, and if you take it, you'll become rich and famous, and you'll marry Paul McCartney. And she's like, well, that's great.
I mean, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. You know what I mean?
That's not bad. Yeah.
So yeah, this is where we get the reveal, like that the call is coming from inside the house.
That's right.
And this sets up, man, this bit of tension here where, so John Saxon tells the other officer, Nash, she's like, get her out of the house. Don't make it like, intense. Just
don't tell her what's going on.
Exactly.
Just tell her to go out.
Right.
Tell her she needs to walk out the door right now. And then of course, when she talks to Nash, and Nash is like, I need you to put the phone down and just walk out the door.
Nash immediately fucks up because she answers the phone. She goes, hello. And he goes, who is this? It's like, Nash, come on, man.
I missed that part. But like, she goes, well, Phil and Barb are upstairs sleeping. And then he just goes, oh, the call's coming from inside the house. It's like, you drop the ball immediately.
It's like, you don't got to talk to Phil and Barbara.
And just, he's willing to let these other 2 girls die.
Yeah.
He's like, she goes, well, they're still upstairs. She goes, fuck them. Get out of the house.
Right.
They're already dead.
He absolutely fucks it up immediately. And Saxon tells him, like, I'm going to have your ass for this if you fuck this up. Like, don't mess this up for me.
Nash should have got shot in the butt cheek instead of another cop.
He should.
But it would have been from his gun.
Okay, now I hear the kitty cat.
Yeah. Tuna. She's upset that the Billy's not been caught yet.
Oh my goodness.
Maybe she's trying to tell me he's in the house.
But she starts to melt down like she gets so scared by this. She's screaming for Barb and Phil to like answer her.
Just please answer.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, this is when the movie like really kicks into gear.
Yeah.
It becomes sort of like a cat and mouse chase from here on out.
Man, when she bursts into Barb's room and sees both Barb and Phil dead on the floor or on the bed.
Yeah.
The way they're posed is so creepy.
That's creepy. But then when she spots him behind the door,
just his eye,
pushes the door against him and then runs out down the stairs, and as he's screaming for her, that is the scariest part of the movie to me.
Yeah.
And right before that, this movie's so good at playing vague with what is POV versus what is a creepy camera shot, because the shot through the banister looking down at her when she's like the tracking shot when she's coming around the corner to come up the stairs.
Yeah.
Like you don't know, am I looking at Billy's POV or is this just an inventive move until she's like halfway up the stairs? And you don't even see him chase her clearly. You see a hand reach in a frame and grab her hair.
That hair grab is so scary.
Yeah, the hair pulls. Yeah, it's real good. But I also wanted to mention, I think you do get a little bit of inspiration for the first Saw film. Yeah. With Billy standing in the closet and all you see is the eye and you hear him whispering, because Zepp does that in that first Saw movie too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's the bit with the where he's using the Polaroid camera. Or?
No. It's when he's in Carrie Elwes' daughter's bedroom in her closet.
Right.
And he says like, good night, little girl, or something like that.
That's the scariest scene in that movie.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good. So yeah, no, him grabbing her hair and screaming and her getting down to the basement, locking the door, and him just screaming as he's beating on the door is it's really good, man. It's so simple but so effective.
This is basically where my notes stop because I'm so locked in watching the rest of it.
my that was my second to last note, and then my last note is a haunting, quiet ending.
Yeah,
because
do you want to take us into it?
Yeah, please. It's your movie.
Sure.
You tell the audience what happens here.
So Billy chases Jess until she runs into the basement, locks the door, and she begins to realize that someone is creeping around outside the basement. And it's Peter, who smashes through the window
like a normal person.
right.
Like, why does he do that? Like, it's so... What's his end game here?
He breaks the window and comes inside and he's like, hey, what's going on? Yeah. Like he like acts like it's so normal that I'm doing this.
I also like too the continuation of piling on the red herring.
Oh yeah.
When he tells, after they have their life solidified, he says, "You'll regret this" or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And then he leaves. And this is the next time she's seeing him after, she keeps going, no, it couldn't have been Peter. It couldn't have been. And then finally they're like, well, the call's coming from inside the house. And then she's like, oh.
She's huddled in the corner holding a fireplace poker and just shivering. And he keeps getting closer to her. Cut to the outside of the house, and we hear her just screaming bloody murder. The cops break down the door, get downstairs, and she is passed out and has seemingly beaten Peter to death with the fireplace poker.
He's super dead.
That was perfect execution. Bravo.
Super dead.
He is super dead, I'll tell you that. You really got Nathan with that one.
It was just quiet enough that I wasn't sure if it happened.
Really funny.
There's so many. I'm looking at, because we pulled a bunch of hot rod quotes. There's so many that fit perfectly in here. When Jess finds out the call's coming from inside the house.
Man, that shatters my entire universe.
And then Mr. Harrison passes out, and I give the old man a week. Do you have that one?
I don't want to spoil it. That's coming up in a future episode.
Oh,
so I don't
great.
want to spoil it.
So anyway, yes, the film ends with Jess is seemingly sedated in bed. For some reason, they don't take her to the hospital.
I know.
She's just sleeping it off.
I never understood why they just leave her in this house with like bloody mattresses.
I mean, that's how we just treated women back then. She's hysterical. Just let her
100%.
sleep. She'll be fine.
Let her sleep it off.
Yeah.
It feels like, there's a line off screen where someone, which is so fascinating because it's such a, I feel like it's of a piece with the rest of the movie sort of ignoring these women in trouble, because we hear, we gotta make sure that the ambulance gets here. We're waiting for county to take care of this. We don't have enough. I feel like this town doesn't have enough spaces in the morgue for the number of bodies they found. But then Claire's dad passes out. And because he hasn't slept or eaten in days, so they take him to the hospital while they just let her sleep it off inside.
Yeah.
You hear reporters outside who are all talking about her like she's not there. Like, is she going to be charged with the murders? There's a very good chance that like she's going to be blamed for all of it, if not, part of it. And as a lone police officer stands on the front porch, we hear Billy inside, who's still in the attic, still with the bodies that have not been recovered because no one's gone to check the attic yet.
That's one of the creepiest parts of the movie to me, is the fact that those bodies are up there the whole time, and seemingly they're not going to be found anytime soon.
No, not until not until the examiner gets there.
Even then, why would they look in the attic? Sure. Why would they bother? You know what I mean?
Why haven't they searched the house to begin with?
Right.
But the phone starts ringing, and the credits roll as the phone continues to ring.
Yes.
And we don't know for sure, but I can tell you, I don't think Jess makes it out of this movie.
No.
Yeah, and the fact that the cop that's on the front porch hears the phone ringing, turns around, and kind of like acknowledges it. It's a good little bit there.
It is. It's a pit in the stomach. Like, it is truly an oh fuck moment to end all oh fuck moments in a movie like this. And that's Black Christmas.
That is. And I want to say we missed another good drop we could have used I feel compelled to say. When the carolers showed up, Jess should open the door and said,
"What's going on? Is this some sort of interactive theater art piece?"
I couldn't let that one go. I'm sorry.
Oh, boy.
When Nash calls.
Get
Looking forward. I'm looking forward to this season. Okay.
You know who could have committed those murders at the end? Instead of Billy, it could have been either or both Peppermint or Jingle Jangle. We didn't even talk about.
Oh my gosh,
our elves on the shelves.
Elves on the shelves.
Yeah. Any interesting updates on either?
You know what? we have to be very careful.
Yeah.
Okay.
We can't.
Little ears.
Yeah.
The little one is here, but I am going to. May I tell them my theory?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna get quiet, and I apologize that this now sounds like a sexy ASM, but she's in the next room.
Oh no! This is Silver Linings After Dark.
Hell yeah!
I'm freaking pumped. I've been drinking green tea all goddamn day.
This kid is full of shit.
Yep. No, I totally agree.
Okay.
I love her so much that she is full of shit. So we have an elf on the shelf. His name is Peppermint. He's a dark-skinned little king. And he's
having a black Christmas.
He is having a black Christmas. And so the thing that's always fascinated me about these is that, one, she knows they come from Target. Two, she believes they have magic powers.
Of course. I mean, they do. Why would you say that as if they don't? They do.
And she's so matter of fact about it too. She's like, obviously they're magical, but
they do come from Target.
They do come from Target.
But so this year, when we were talking about the elf coming back, when we were putting up the tree, December's approaching, she said something to the effect of, I'm so excited because he always brings a present when he comes back.
He always brings me $5.
Yes,
that's like, what?
Very specific. I like that.
And I said, no, the fuck he doesn't. I didn't say that, but I was like, really? Did he do that last year?
No, he did not.
Can Peppermint come to my house? Because I could use $5.
Peppermint arrived last year around the same time she lost a tooth, and I think she's conflating it.
Gotcha.
But there's been a few times where she's like, yeah, they always bring gifts when they come back. And we're like, that's a new wrinkle. And then two nights ago, she goes, I hope he does something crazy tonight. Like she's sort of giving us notes.
Yeah.
Yep. I wonder if he'll show up over here. And so at this point, I'm just like, she's directing us.
Yeah.
She's like, we're being, like, it feels like we're in a game of chicken, but with childhood whimsy. Like, are we? And at what point do we say, like,
where do you get off?
That's it. No, so that's the update. Is I love this time of year. I'm having a really fun time moving the elf every night. But when something's got to give. At what point do we all agree that we're all lying to each other for fun?
Right.
So a little update on Jingle Jangle.
Yeah, Jingle Jangle.
So Jingle Jangle,
named after the drug from Riverdale.
Jingle Jangle arrived on December 1st and said,
"Yoo-hoo, shitheads!"
And he came in. So here's the thing. Scarlett fully aware that this is a bit.
Sure.
Ridley fully buys in, but also is very apathetic till then. He's like, oh, there he is today. Look at the silly thing he's doing. And then he does not give a shit after that.
Right.
So
even if he brought a cooked goose for everyone.
I thought about pulling that one. I didn't pull it.
Okay.
But Nathan and I, for the listener, have been texting each other back and forth every night. Here's what Jingle Jangle's doing. Oh, yeah, well, here's what Peppermint's doing.
It's the most dad thing we could possibly text each other.
I gotta tell you,
we love our wives. Here's where our elf is.
That's so funny.
I gotta tell you, I'm running out of ideas here.
Oh, I know.
There's only so much Jingle Jangle can get into.
Oh, same. Yeah.
I've tied him to our ceiling fan and put a little sign from him going wee as he flies around the room.
You're way more creative than we are.
Oh, it's not me. I'm just Googling. Please give me ideas for elf on the shelf. But I think right now Jingle Jangle's taking a nap. He's under a blanket.
Well, and we get a little bit of a break sometimes because somehow one of the rules that's been accepted is that he doesn't move when she's not here. So like when she spends the night at her dad's, we don't have to deal with it.
Yeah.
He just waits to become alive again later.
I don't have that luxury, unfortunately. So I gotta come up with 20 plus ideas. But also, maybe next year, when Peppermint returns, maybe your daughter will be like, well, Peppermint always brings me a 1983 Ferrari Testarossa. That's something he always fucking does.
Every year.
Every year I get one of those things.
Oh, man.
That would be me if that was my house and Peppermint was bringing me gifts every time.
That's so funny.
The first edition of the Iliad.
Shout out to all the parents that have to deal with this. But I'll tell you what, if you have ideas by the time this comes out, it'll be kind of late. But if you've got ideas, please email them to us at the silverliningsplaylist@gmail.com.
Oh,
Let us know what else
yes.
is to it.
At jinglejangle.com.
Jingle Jangle at the silverliningsplaylist.com.
Yeah, or just use them for next year.
There you go. I had to get a little bit of a catch up on how the elves are doing.
No, thank you so much. I can't believe we almost forgot to talk about that.
So funny.
One day, Jingle Jangle and Peppermint should like swap houses, just to be like, oh, something different's happening this year,
Oh, I also, before we move on to our closing segments, I did have a thing I sent you earlier.
Oh, right.
That I thought was fascinating. For the Shout Factory Blu-ray of Black Christmas, Nick Mancuso recorded a new commentary track in character as Billy.
Oh, I don't like that.
And he's clearly improvising the whole time. If you'll jump to 1 minute in, it is really, he's just sort of reacting to things on screen. What's really funny is early on when he's climbing up the trellis. Sorry, the subtitles say "suck my juicy cock." But like when the movie starts and he's climbing up the trellis, like Nick Mancuso on the commentary track is going like, "And here I go, I'm going up the steps." Like it's really silly. Also, his voice is clearly deepened after all that time.
Yeah.
But just hear what he has to say about Barb.
Well, he also put here Chinese or Japanese. That's very
It's
weird.
interesting that he wrote that there.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Oh, creep. Creep. I think I'll get you for that. Hey, Billy? It's me, Billy. It's me.
This feels like a bit. Like,
you know what we did? Well, that's it. No more asthma.
Well, that's it. No more asthma.
This
just like having a wart removed.
No more asthma.
Now, of course, there's a
this
deep
feels like
subtext in
Bozo
all
dubbed
this.
over.
Very deep, very serious.
There we go.
Feeling strange
Very
feelings
serious.
in my stomach.
I like that it says British accent and then it says imitating British accent in the subtitles. Did you notice that?
So good. So weird, but you're right. It does have the energy of just like, I hope I don't jack off.
This was uploaded at 6 this morning and it only has 1 view.
Oh, fuck. What the fuck? It's not even supposed to be Christmas today.
All right, well, I think that's
All right.
Black Christmas, everybody. I didn't know how to segue out of that, but why don't we talk about Prop Cop? What do you guys say?
Yeah, sure.
All right, so Prop Cop is where we're going to look at all the props in the movie we just talked about, Black Christmas, and we're each going to pick one for ourselves. I feel like it is only right thing to do that since Ashley is our guest this episode, she gets first pick. So
Yes.
Ashley, what prop do you want from Black Christmas?
I want Claude the cat.
Oh, all right.
He's so fluffy.
I think that's the first time we've picked a living thing.
Yeah, I want Claude.
That's good.
I will have to remind you, as I do every time we talk about an older movie, and there's an animal on screen, that cat is long dead. I'm sorry, I have to do it every time.
No, he's the only one.
Oh,
He's the only one
going.
that's still alive.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
He took Mark Margolis' life force.
Him and Willie.
That's right.
Free Willie.
Gotcha. Okay. Nathan, what about you? What prop do you want?
Oh man, there's so many. I think I gotta go with Barb's wreath that has all the booze hanging from it.
Functional.
Oh, absolutely.
Very functional.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go with the second poster that Claire's dad spots, which is the two naked women in a flower circle forming a human peace sign, which I thought was very, very creative, very interesting. I like that. All right. Well, why don't we talk about who we're going to play in this movie with bit part?
All right, fuck me, I guess. I don't want a prop.
What prop do you want, JT? What prop do you want?
I don't know, Glass Unicorn, the Booze Book, one of those.
God, so greedy, too. 2 of them. All right.
You know what? I'll take another one. I want those red flowery curtains that are in the living room.
Oh,
Those
the
are
curtains
fantastic.
are so good.
Sure.
Ashley, is there anything else you would like? Don't let Dustin. Yeah.
I want the I want the hobby horse in the attic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We got to stop putting those in attics. I feel like that's every horror movie has one of those.
Every horror movie has one.
Let's talk about bit part.
You go, Glen Coco.
I thought that was pretty on par.
Perfect for Christmas. Yeah.
So bit part, there's a couple of people here and there in this movie that are not named characters that, myself or Nathan, Ashley, even JT could possibly play in the movie instead. So who should be our bit part? Nathan, who are you going to be?
In the search party, I want to be the guy with the pink ski mask on the ATV.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. I know he's a named character, but he doesn't really do much in the movie. Do you think I could be the detective that's just absolutely losing his mind during the fellatio bit?
Buchanan? Yeah, that was my second choice. That's a great choice.
He's having a grand old time.
Absolutely.
Ashley, who about you?
I want to be the kid that Barb feeds alcohol to.
Yeah.
Just so I can sit there while Margot Kidder pours alcohol down my throat.
It is feeding. She's definitely not like serving. Yeah. She's like it's like a kid. Like here comes the airplane. You know.
She goes. What does she say? This little bugger's schnockered.
This little bastard's drunk.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Oh, God. All right, JT, who are you playing?
I will be Phil's boyfriend.
Okay.
He didn't really do anything.
Oh, Patrick. Yeah.
Yeah. The one that just goes, ho, ho, shit.
Yeah.
I love him.
Or we could do a couples, we could be, the guy who gets shot in the ass and the guy who shot him in the ass.
Oh, there you go.
I thought you two were going to be the guys from the search party that show up in the last 10 minutes.
I was going to say that if someone else chose one of them, I was going to choose the other one.
I'd rather deal with the killer.
That's such a good line.
We should have had the Keystone Cops from Halloween 5 show up at this because they would have been just as helpful. Yep.
Ashley, we watched that movie recently, and Ashley was like, "Is that on the soundtrack or is that outside?" Like when the weird honking sounds.
We added that.
It pans down to their feet, and there's just like a bunch of like clown horns
and
stuff that they're walking up.
All right, let's talk about it. Let's find the silver lining this Christmas season, this holiday season for Black Christmas. Who would like to go first?
I have two, so maybe I'll go last if you guys want to go ahead of me.
A lot of greed this Christmas season, I gotta say, between Prop Cop, Silver Lining. Everybody just needs to relax. Okay, relax.
Absolutely not. In this economy, I want as many. We're gonna start putting tariffs on the Silver Linings.
I know there's
political.
I know there's obvious ones, but I'm gonna go with the bullshit one because I feel like it's a good one. But free alcohol to whoever gets this house in the estate sale from those books.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Sure.
And discontinued wine at that. That's a collector's item. If anything else. Who else wants to go?
I'll go.
Okay.
Barb doesn't have to worry about people thinking she's the killer anymore.
That's true.
Because she's dead.
Very true.
That's good. That's good.
Nathan?
So, one, hopefully, this is the serious one. Hopefully, Mr. Harrison got closure after this. I mean, as presuming they eventually looked in the attic. Two, I really think Nash might have gotten fired for fucking this up.
I hope so.
I
surely hope so. I'll also say, I mean, my serious one that I wrote down was that Jess doesn't have to worry about Peter's input on her abortion anymore.
Yeah.
100%. Bye, Peter.
Mm-hmm. He was a shit piano player anyway. JT, do you have a silver lining?
Can I talk, Dustin? Is it? The cat lived.
The cat lived.
Yeah.
There you go. That's good.
Honestly, I was panicking listening to all y'all. I was like, God, I can't think of a single silver lining.
It's tough with this one for sure.
Yeah. This is a like you said, like a pit in the stomach, rock bottom kind of ending.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, because of that very reason, we need a double feature here. We need a pick me a movie alternative. So what is a movie?
I love that.
I know.
Love that new sting.
I love it. So what is a movie people should watch after they watch Black Christmas from 1974? I'm going to go ahead and go first, if that's okay.
Okay, sure.
Another Christmas movie that is quickly becoming one of my favorite Christmas movies. I'm going to go with Paul Giamatti's The Holdovers.
Oh, great choice.
Which has a very similar vibe to this movie in that people are hanging around during the holidays in their sorority house or on campus, whatever you want to call it. But that's a great one if you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
What are you watching, Nathan?
I wouldn't say this is necessarily a good movie, and it's probably just as upsetting in different ways, but I would recommend 2024's Netflix original film extravaganza, Hot Frosty.
Oh no.
Frosty.
I don't like the title. It makes me uncomfortable.
It does sound like a weird sex movie.
It sounds like an Urban Dictionary.
It really does.
Yeah.
A truly disturbing, weird movie where a snowman comes to life. Everyone in town agrees, and everyone also wants to bang him.
He is the most fuckable snowman. That's the alternate title for the movie.
Featuring a bizarrely fantastic supporting cast.
Yeah.
Katie Mixon, Joe Latrulio, and Craig Robinson doing good work in a movie that does not deserve them.
Joe Latrulio and Craig Robinson I was like, what the fuck is going on?
It's like, did they think they were in a real movie?
No, I think they saw that Netflix check and they're like, yeah, sure, whatever.
It is one of those, it's also one of those things where you're like, there's absolutely no chance that any of Joe Trulio's dialogue is on the page. Had a great time. Terrible movie.
Well, we like to do this with horror movies, but what is everyone's favorite kill from Black Christmas? I will say, I think Barb's is quote unquote the best kill because it is the most iconic. But for me, I think Claire's kill is the best one of this movie because it's simple and we get so much use out of the end result of that because there are so many shots coming back to reminding you that there's just a dead girl in the attic and her dad's downstairs looking for her, doesn't know she's there. And it really lingers throughout the film. So.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree. Yeah, Claire's death is what I think about when I think about this movie.
Yeah. What about you, Nathan?
Before I answer this, do we want double features from Ashley or JT?
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
I wasn't going to say anything.
I'm so sorry.
Nathan.
I wasn't going to say anything either.
JT, I don't care about, but Ashley, what's your pick me up?
I think after Black Christmas, you have to watch White Christmas. It's only fair.
Yeah. I would have been so disappointed if we would have gotten to this episode and that was your pick and I didn't ask. My apologies.
Yeah.
No worries.
White Christmas is one of my favorite Christmas movies, and I made Nathan watch it for the first time last year.
Right before she proposed to me. So now it's one of my favorites.
So sweet. JT, what are you watching? Halloween?
I don't want to pick a movie.
Okay. All right.
Now, since Nathan mentioned it earlier, Silver Bullet.
Silver Bullet, there you go.
So good.
Black Christmas, Silver Bullet. We're working our way through the colors.
Yeah. Doing all the holidays, all the colors. And yeah, I gotta agree with you. I think I think Claire's death is the most like visceral in the movie. Yeah, there's that, and then I mean we don't see it on screen, but the Mrs. Max is just so wild.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned the zoom earlier, there's just such a great build of tension there, and it's such a it ratchets up the stakes because this is a guy who's not just going to like, he's not just a hands-on killer, he's gonna like rig shit up to hurt you.
Yeah, I fully agree.
Well, and it seems like that death bothers him too, because he like freaks out afterwards. Like, I don't know, it makes you feel like he didn't mean to kill Miss Mac.
That's a great point.
I don't know, yeah, because he just like he flips out after he kills her.
Well, we know so little about him, but it like just from some of the context clues of the things he talks about, you get the feeling that he maybe killed his parents and his baby sibling.
Yeah.
And so I think killing a matronly person maybe triggered something in him. It's such a wild, I mean, I pick up different things every time I watch this movie.
What I was thinking was it was because she was the closest one that discovered him.
Sure.
Like, no one else came even close to the attic, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
He was almost found out and he killed her and he started freaking out because someone got so close to his space there, I guess.
I like that too. That's a good read.
What if there was a sequel to this and it's just John Saxon becomes the Loomis of this franchise, just constantly chasing Billy?
No, I was thinking of Claire's dad being the Loomis.
That's fair too, but we got to keep John Saxon around.
Yeah.
We got to keep him for the sequels. It's weird that this never did get a sequel. It got 2 remakes.
Yeah,
but
it almost got a sequel. Bob Clark was in talks with Olivia Hussey and John Saxon about coming back for a new movie back in like the mid 2000s before the first remake came out, and then it stalled because Bob Clark tragically died in a car accident.
Yeah.
But we got very close to getting like an actual official continuation.
Mm-hmm.
But it is wild that it didn't happen sooner, which I guess speaks to how like kind of the muted response this movie had when it came out.
Yeah, it's now a cult classic, but at the time not that well received.
Right.
And I guess speaking of that, do we recommend Black Christmas 1974? I would say absolutely. It's admittedly a bit slow by slasher standards, and at times it does feel like it's maybe padding the runtime a little bit, but there's still a lot of good stuff in here. The kills are all memorable, all of them, and it's not one I revisit every year, but it is nice to visit every once in a while.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it.
I 100%. It's such a strong. I mean, the characters are so strong and memorable. The jokes make me laugh every time, which is like not a thing I can say about most horror movies that use character. You know, the jokes all come from a place of character. And yeah, I think it's super rewatchable. I think watching it once a year is exactly the right amount, though, because by the time it starts to get cold outside, Ashley and I are just like, oh man, it's almost Black Christmas time, you know?
For sure. All right. Well, do we have any final thoughts on Black Christmas?
I just think no one's ever really come close to this. It's crazy. This movie kind of rises in my rankings every time I watch it. And I, you know, there have of course been plenty of horror movies that have had like social commentary and a feminist approach to storytelling, but I don't know. There's something so honest and raw and almost documentarian in some spots in this movie that it feels so real and so prescient and ahead of its time. Nothing about this movie has aged poorly to me. Even some of the more misogynistic dialogue feels real, and like it comes from a place of character. So I love this movie. I'm so glad we finally got to talk about it on the show.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect wrap up to this episode.
I think you're perfect.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So, I got nothing else to say. I think you perfectly surmised Black Christmas. And thank you all for listening. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, rate, and leave feedback. That could be the gift you give us this holiday season is a rating wherever you're listening to us right now.
And it's the gift that keeps on giving all year round, Clark. Oh, right. You hate that movie.
If you haven't already, you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. If you want to check out our subreddit, you can at reddit.com/r/silverliningsplaylist. Same with our website, TSLPpodcast.com. If you have a suggestion for a bit part that you think we should do, you can use the contact form on our website, or you can email us at the silverliningsplaylist@gmail.com. You can also tell us how we're doing, give us a suggestion, anything you want to do, you can email us about it. And I will say this, I do know that, at least here in the States, that the TikTok ban is apparently moving forward. But we are still going to post clips there just because we do have listeners from outside the States. And if you do want to watch clips from the show, you can certainly check out the same material getting posted on Instagram Reels, on YouTube Shorts. We pretty much post every big social media platform other than Facebook, because fuck that. We post clips there, so you can check us out everywhere. And if you haven't already, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/silverliningsplaylist. For $1 a month, as well as a 7-day free trial, you can get potentially the episodes released early. The past couple episodes this season have already come out early for those who are on there. You get access to Nathan and I's limited series show Guys. When this episode comes out, we will have last week released our episode on Showgirls Exposed, which was... That was something.
You know what? I'll give the listener a little Christmas present. It's if you haven't heard it yet and you want to hear us talk about what I truly believe is the worst thing we've ever covered. I'm not saying a movie. It's a video.
It's not a movie. It's a video.
Go find it there. It's a video.
$1 a month. That gets you that.
An exciting photo play.
An exciting music photo play. And also, we are going to be doing a couple of things later on this season that will only be available to our Patreon members. So again, it's only $1 a month. Check that out. And I think there's a pre-roll ad at the beginning of this episode, but oh no, it would have been over by now. Yeah. We've done our Showgirls 2 live stream. So if you want access to that stuff, you got to know when it's happening. So sign up for the Patreon.
And if you pay us enough, like we keep doing it. Just keep us in this prison we've created for ourselves.
Our Showgirls prison.
That's right.
Ashley, thank you so much for coming back on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Is there anything that you're working on right now that you want to plug, or maybe even the back catalogs of your other shows?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Southern Haunts is still going strong. I'm putting out new episodes. But yeah, my entire back catalog is on Patreon. You can access that through there. And then Nathan and I have a podcast, Oh, That's a Scary Movie, where we talk about scary movies. You can find both Oh, That's a Scary Movie and Southern Haunts on all podcast platforms.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And this month we're covering the entire first season of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah.
All right.
And if you liked this episode, our Christmas episode is the 2006 Black Christmas remake.
There you go.
Oh my God. Yeah, us lucky so-and-sos are passing the savings on to you.
Yeah.
That actually autoplayed today after I watched this one.
Oh,
And
no.
I was like, I was doing something, so I was just like letting it go, and I was like, God, this is really bad.
Yeah,
That's so gross.
Not to be an asshole, but Katie Cassidy is no Olivia Hussey.
Still haven't. Well, I think that's all for this episode. The last thing I have to say is I got to give you a clue for my pick for next week.
Of course.
The final episode of 2024, and here's the clue for what we're going to be talking about. Sorry, my cat had something to say. Yeah?
Oh my goodness.
You guys can hear that now, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She's on my shelf on the wall. Like, I don't know how she got up there. Next episode's lesson is we kill each other off until there's only one left. And nothing's against the rules.
I'm so stoked.
Oh, yeah.
Can't wait. I cannot wait.
This has been a long time coming, this episode. I will say that.
It's almost been our season finale 2 seasons in a row. So this is very exciting.
We're finally doing it. So, stay tuned for the final episode of 2024. And until then, as always, I'm a pretty pig. I wasn't committed. I shouldn't have said it. I'm sorry. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Happy holidays. Black Christmas. And that wraps up another fantastic episode of the Silver Linings playlist. If you would be so kind, we ask that you leave us some feedback on how we did, plus a like and subscribe. We'll be back next week with another great episode. See ya!